Good afternoon, folks. And today we're gonna talk about the Bill of Rights. And the Bill of Rights that are under attack. But first, before we get into the Bill of Rights, we're gonna say the Constitution together. And the Constitution leading to the Bill of Rights. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Okay. Now, with that being said, the Bill of Rights came with 10 amendments. The 10th Amendment, which involves the state, which involves laws that only involve states, which the current authoritarians are violating. The 9th Amendment also kind of has something to do with that, but they're trying to outlaw that. But, however, let's remember, the left only wants to do what only pertains to them, nobody else. But now, when Kyle Rittenhouse was acquitted, the left went crazy, saying, according to Biden, who was only a presidential candidate at the time before he became what he is today. I'm not even going to say the word because he is not my president. I mean, when Donald Trump became president, it was okay for everyone to say, not my president, not my president. Because that's where the First Amendment came into play. There's Catholics, there's Lutherans, there's Baptists, there's all sorts of religions. So we're going to go down that. Starting with the First Amendment. That's what's being attacked right now. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or the abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or the right of the people to peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for redress of grievances. Well, let's look at let's kind of challenge what goes on here. What goes on with the First Amendment? Alright. Well, according to the left, aka also the Democrats and the progressive liberals, it's okay if they challenge us, but we can't challenge them. That's what technically they are. They're the communists. They want a communist-ruled government. Look at China. Look at China, for instance. Ever since the communist rule has occurred, if you didn't like what they did, just like Hitler, they pretty much mimicked Hitler and Stalin both. Only thing is, Stalin was more of a communist than Hitler was, even though Hitler kind of did very similar. The only difference is, Hitler was more of a, if you don't like what I do, then I'm going to kill you. Then the same way as Stalin did. Stalin was the same way as Hitler. You don't like me? You don't want to follow me? I'll kill you. But, however, how does this pertain to that? Very simple. Because the Democrats only want to do what follows their narrative. Like Joe Biden says, you don't vote for me, you ain't black. Okay, I got several friends out there who are black, and they didn't vote for him. Okay, what kind of racist statement is that? So, if they don't vote for him, is he black? So you're only black if you vote for him. Okay. I get it. That's his constitutional right. But, however, that's where the defamation claim comes into play. You gotta have evidence when it comes to the rule of law. You gotta have evidence to prove that that is truth or not. That's where all this comes into play at. With the freedom of speech. You can't just say whatever you want to say about someone. That's because with Nicholas Sandmann. The press went on to say whatever they wanted to say about Nicholas Sandmann. Like CNN, NBC, and all those large corporate media outlets. And they got themselves in trouble. Because they defamed him. They literally destroyed him left and right. And Nicholas Sandmann sued him for defamation of character. What exactly is defamation of character? Defamation of character is when they spread false information about you and you lose friends or business. And it's almost like slander almost, but a little different. It's pretty much all the same thing, but just a tad different. But you slander statements, but it's also their character. And it's defamation of character. They just pretty much will destroy you all over social media and everything. It's pretty much all the same thing as slander. But, oh well, who cares? But you lose business, but you gotta prove you lost all the friends, and pretty much it took an emotional toll on you, which it pretty much did. It showed there in court. He had to relive through that when he gave his testimony. He literally broke down in tears. And yet the liberals continue this thing saying, oh, those were fake tears. That's PTSD kicking in. Some people who go through combat, I've known, not everyone, but some people who've been through combat get PTSD. Because they have to live through this constantly the rest of their life. My dad has some friends who were in combat during Vietnam. He told me, anytime they hear something go off that sounds like an explosion, they duck. Because it's literally bringing flashbacks when they were in Vietnam. I mean, what's that tell you about them? That's literally what he's going through. Except he was never, well, I guess you could say a combat battle, but that's where the Second Amendment comes into play. We'll kind of get back to the First Amendment here shortly. The Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia being necessary to secure of a free state the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Okay. That there as well. With Kyle Rittenhouse being on the street, yeah, there's a lot of what-ifs, but this has nothing, and I say again, nothing to do with race, like all the liberals and Democrats are saying. I see Kyle Rittenhouse being a rich man after this. Him going after politicians, him going after CNN, literally almost everybody on the left, and he can easily win a big case right now. Big time. I see him going after a lot of people. Now, how does the First Amendment and Second Amendment apply here? Very simple. The defamation claim with the First Amendment, I mean, don't get me wrong, they had a right to free speech, but only one problem. You can't just state claims all the time. You gotta know your facts before you start just spreading words. Don't start spreading hate speech all over Facebook before you know that. Spread facts before you know your stuff. Now, the Second Amendment. When you have the Second Amendment, yeah, he had a barrel, an AR-15, but Wisconsin law is a little different than other states. That's where the 10th Amendment comes into play at. And they were attacking the 10th Amendment, using the 10th Amendment against them. This is where everyone's attacking them. The state And they used the 10th Amendment against him. And obviously they said it was the legal size. And even the prosecution admitted it was the legal size. And therefore, it was dismissed. Even the judge said, then the case is dismissed. Then that charge is dismissed. So that was the only thing they could literally get him on, was that. If that was the long-barreled rifle, like they said, they would have had him on that charge. Everything else, they would have dismissed him on, because that was the only charge they would have had him on. Now, as of going across state lines and buying a gun, with a gun going across state lines, that was false. Why? Because it proves he didn't have a gun when he went across state lines. He bought the gun in a store just across state lines. He's from Illinois, but his dad lives in Kenosha. So he went across state lines to get a gun just across the border. And then he went into Kenosha, Wisconsin, where they were protesting the death. I can't remember which black person, but it was a black person. It was a Black Lives Matter protest, and there was Antifa amongst them. I'm not sure which one it was, if it was the Black Lives Matter people or Antifa that went up there, but all three guys had a criminal record, and they all attacked him. One with a gun, pulling out to shoot him. Another one pulled out a skateboard and started beating him. Another one wanted to reach for his gun, so then he quickly pulled out his gun, kind of like old Clint Eastwood films and stuff like that, like old westerns. Pulled it out and shot him. Shot the one who just came out of the psych ward. Weird, isn't that? Isn't that just weird? It just came out of the psych ward the day before and ends up at these rallies. Kind of odd, isn't it? And ends up shooting those two, ends up killing, and ends up wounding the other guy with the gun. That's the only thing that saved him. Then you got... But now... But what is our right to free speech is under attack, because the Democrats only want to have something that goes for them, not for anybody else. I mean, it's common sense. If I want to say something about somebody, if I disagree with them, then that's just fine. They'll be all right with that, because that's just them. Me, on the other hand, no. Because I'm the opposite party of them, and they'll just attack me because I have a different opinion than them. I mean, he had a fair trial, and that's what needs to happen. Everyone needs to have a fair trial. So that amendment wasn't broken. But the 10th? Yes. The 2nd and the 1st? Yes. Those are under attack. The Bill of Rights are under attack. And yet, Joe Biden needs to apologize. Because when Joe Biden was only a candidate, he called him a white supremacist. And said Donald Trump needs to condemn this, when it was still in the process of investigations. You can't just condemn something when it's in the process of investigations. When there's little stuff that has yet to even come across. Not a whole lot of stuff has come across that. Well, the Charlottesville incident, there was a lot there. Now, what Donald Trump did say was, I think when he said there was fine people on both sides, he was meaning when the Civil War was going on. But he also said that the liberals and liberal news media didn't cover was, I condemn these acts of violence. That's one thing they didn't cover. You see, the Democrats and the liberals only want to cover what fits their narrative. And obviously this didn't fit their narrative. So, maybe they just need to go back into a corner and start crying. Because 2022 and 2024 are going to be big years of crying. So, enjoy this years of love and laughter, because this isn't going to be pretty after this. Well, with that being said, I got some work I got to do. So, hit the like button, hit the bell for notifications, and subscribe. With that being said, I'm out of here. Peace.